You might disagree with feminism, but that doesn't mean that you don't operate on its premises. Now, if you feel like men and women are at war with each other, it's men versus women, or if you feel embittered toward women, or if you feel like dating is a hopeless war that just can't be won today, then stay tuned. Now, when we think about an ideology, we typically think that it's whatever we consciously agree with or don't agree with. If we say, I agree with Christianity, or I agree with feminism, or I agree with communism, or something like that, it's a consciously held decision that you just say, well, I've read a book about Marx and now I agree with communism. And that's not really how ideas work. It's not like picking up a flag of allegiance to, one ideology or another. Ideas actually function from our subconscious. That's what it means to believe in something. You don't need to consciously think about it or analytically work out what to do in a certain situation. You just do it because that's what you believe. And we learn most of these beliefs as we grow up from the culture around us. We learn it from our parents, our teachers, and most importantly, from the endless bombardment of media that constantly surrounds us all. Now, we absorb many of the premises that we hold from the world around us, precisely because those premises that we hold shape the way we see the world, and thus behave in it. Everything that we do, everything we create, has come from some sort of premise of whether something is good or bad or the right thing to do, from something small like whether a man should leave the toilet seat up or down for the woman in the house, or all the way to something big like whether we should repeal the 19th. All of these premises come from somewhere. Now, feminism has dominated our culture for decades now. If you're 35 or younger, then you haven't known a world that wasn't dominated by feminism. Now, I've been working on my deep dive into the psychology of feminism called The Dark Psychology of Feminism all week. I've been working on that script and diving into a lot of these topics. And something I really want to get across is that a lot of men can buy into these premises that feminism holds, that feminism teaches, without even realizing it. A man can be avidly against feminism and see it as something that destroyed relationships in the West, or, he can think whatever he wants about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he hasn't bought into the premises of feminism. We can think consciously that feminism is evil. We can analytically look at the different premises and say, oh, that's awful. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't believe them deep down inside, because we've grown up in a world where a lot of these premises are taught, that are accepted, are normal, like the idea that men and women are fundamentally these different tribes that are at war with each other, and that it's one has to win at the expense of the other. So even if we do challenge this premise consciously, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have challenged it on every single level within us. Now, I've come across a lot of guys out there who are very understandably upset with the state of dating, with women, with their own lives, and they are starting to see that feminism is not all that it seemed to be all those years ago, or it's not what it claims to be. And they see it as a problem and an instigator for a lot of the issues that they see in their lives, and they reject it. And yet, I still see them making the same errors that feminism does, or operating on the same premises. Ideologies are a way in which we conceptualize the world. We don't come prepared out of the womb with a set lens to conceptualize the world with. That's why your belief system, your ideology, has such a major impact on the whole of your life. It'll shape every aspect of it, because that's the whole point. That's the whole point of a belief system, is to guide you in your actions throughout life. And it's why it's so important to be very, very aware of what you don't agree with in the culture that you've been born in, and very aware of how that will be affecting you in your own personal life. And a few of the things that are so essential and so foundational to feminism that I want to go over with today. First and foremost is the idea that men and women are at war with each other. This idea is integrated into basically every aspect of today's world. That from the way a woman dresses, that, she's either dressed for her or she's dressed for men, and it can't be for both, because that would be crazy. When it comes to sex, it's either about her pleasure or your pleasure, and it can't be about both. When it comes to male fantasies or female fantasies, the male fantasy is bad, and it can't be something that she's into. It can't be harmonious. It can't be that men and women both have, harmonious fantasies about each other. No. It's one or the other. And when you get into a relationship, it has to be about one getting what they want at the expense of the other. The other has to give up what they want. I mean, think about when a father and a mother, they have a child. Oh, who's going to give up the career? Well, traditionally it's the men, and so therefore these days the men need to be more willing to sacrifice their whole career and all their dreams for the child. So when it comes to analyzing the premise that's shaping the way we think about the problems, right? Let's take a look at the, who should be the one to give up their career when they have a child situation. It's not so much that, it should be the man or it should be the woman. It's how we approach thinking about it at all. The fact that, the man's been doing it for a long time, and so he should give it up, or he should be more willing to give it up because traditionally women, blah, blah, blah. It's the fact that we approach it in this either-or situation without any kind of context to who this man and who this woman actually are. What do these two people want? Do they even want this child? Because, the way that people present, whether it should be the man or the woman, the way they present it, it's almost like, God, this stupid kid showed up and we don't even want it. Who's going to take care of this little brat? Well, it's not going to be me. It's better be you, because, women in the past would give up what they wanted, so therefore it should be the man. And it's just what a horrible way to even think about such a situation. Instead, people should be thinking about it in terms of what do they want out of life. Ideally, before they even have the child, it should be like, okay, we're going to have this kid. Somebody's going to want to take care of this kid. Is it going to be me? Is it going to be you? What's the context of our lives? What's the context of our careers? What are the context of our hopes and dreams? Being a mother shouldn't just be an assumed off limits. No woman should ever want to be a mother who takes care of the kids. I've met plenty of women who ended up, going to college and getting a degree to then not use that degree at all and instead become stay-at-home moms. And I've asked them, do you have any regrets? And they say, not even a shred of regret. They wouldn't have changed that decision in a million years because they loved being moms so much. And that shouldn't just be discounted. A woman would never want to be a mom. Again, I'm not saying all women should stay at home, but that's the feminist premise in us, is it's one or the other, and there are shoulds and shouldn'ts regardless of context, and that's crazy. That's not how it works. That's not how life works. That's a poor way of thinking. Something else that is super common is that men will blame all of women for the modern day issues with relationships, with dating, with all of it. They'll say, it's women, women are doing this, women are doing that. That is the wrong way to think about it. That's exactly how the feminists think. Except, of course, they blame men for all problems. We are not two warring tribes. That is an invention of feminism. And it is not women who are the problem. It is many women and a whole lot of men as well. Because remember that feminism is an ideology. It's not women. Feminism should not be seen as synonymous with women. It's an ideology. Anybody can be a feminist. In the same way that Nazism isn't synonymous with Germans. Anybody can, teach or believe that ideology in the same way that anyone can be a feminist. So don't let yourself see women as an inherent or natural adversary. I understand how common adversarial and combative and hateful women are these days. I know how common it is. But do not let feminism trick you into believing that that's how men and women naturally are, that we are two warring tribes against each other. Something that feminism does, it's more of an effect rather than an actual explicitly stated premise, is that it infantilizes women. It basically says that women are not responsible for anything that they do. They can go make the worst decisions of their lives, but nope, it's men's fault. And to give a few examples, one would be that one time when that woman had sex with 100 men and put it on the internet, loads of feminists said, oh, those horrible men for taking part in that. Which, yeah, they probably aren't the greatest guys, but also, she is the one who is responsible for being a prostitute, for putting it on the internet, and for choosing to have 100 men have their way with her in one day. That was 100% her choice. But loads of feminists cannot even conceive of that, because for them, the whole of feminism is a big rationalization for deferring responsibility of their own actions onto the rest of the world. Another example would just be when women go and get blind drunk and probably take drugs as well at a very seedy party with a bunch of very seedy, totally untrustworthy guys, and then are surprised when something bad happens when they pass out. Now, I want to be very clear. Any man who violates someone, whether they're a man or a woman, should be held responsible for their behavior. But also, if you make a terrible decision, I mean, if you go to a bad street in New York at night and wave cash around and say to everyone around you, oh my gosh, I've just got so much cash, all this cash in my pockets. I had to throw all my weapons away to make room for all this cash. Would you really be surprised if you got robbed? Like, of course something bad's gonna happen when you do something that puts you in a obviously bad situation. Now again, if someone robs you in that situation, the robber should still be held accountable fully. And if a man takes advantage of a woman who is unconscious, of course, he should be held responsible. But it's the feminists who say that it's men who are the problem when a woman goes and makes terrible decisions. When she goes and, parties with some very untrustworthy, seedy men who obviously just want to use people, including her, it's not their fault. It's not the men's fault. Those particular men. It's men. It's my fault and your fault. We're just at home playing StarCraft, but no, it's our fault because, she went off and made terrible decisions. I've never even met her or seen her, but no, it's my fault. Feminism infantilizes women by taking away all responsibility for her decisions. I mean, just take a simple situation where maybe, she meets a guy and has sex with him and then regrets it the next day. That's his fault. That's on him. It's not that it's her responsibility to decide who she does and doesn't have sex with. In fact, what's funny is, feminism is all about, consent and all that. Well, if that's true, like if women do have the right to say yes or no, then that means they need to take responsibility when they say yes and it's the wrong choice and they end up having sex with someone they later regret having sex with. But that's the total opposite of what we get. In fact, we get loads of people saying, no, it's the man who should somehow know whether or not she'll later regret it. And because, if she does later regret it, then he's a rapist. He's an evil, manipulative villain. In short, she is not responsible for her behavior. And all this to say, I see loads of men do the exact same thing to women. There are plenty of men who will go out and date the worst women they can find, and then be surprised when their relationships don't work out or their dates go terribly. And instead of saying, I need to pick better women, or I need to go somewhere where there are better women, they blame all of women. They say, the women today all suck, so I'm just not going to date. And that's not the right takeaway. That's, again, deferring responsibility onto the rest of the world, rather than taking on that responsibility yourself. Loads and loads of feminists will, instead of saying, I date shit men, and it's my fault for dating shit men, they'll instead blame all of men. I make terrible choices, so it's all men's fault. Do not make that same mistake yourself. Take some responsibility if you are making bad choices. If you're dating the wrong kind of women, yeah, it sucks. And it can be hard to look at yourself and say, man, I need to make different choices. Why am I dating these shit women? The adult thing to do is to take a look at yourself and hold yourself accountable for your own choices and your own actions. Now, I do want to say, again, I totally understand how frustrating the dating world is, and I'm not saying that if you ever go on a date or get into a relationship with a woman who is not what they seem or not a good person, that's entirely your fault. I'm not saying that it's entirely your fault, but I am saying that you do have a part to play in any relationship that you get into. There are things that you can do and change in yourself to ensure that you get what you want, which is ideally a woman you're going to be happy with, right? And ultimately, here is the thing. When you let feminism make you bitter, when you let all those horrible women out there make you bitter toward women and make you burnt out on dating altogether and give up on it, you're letting feminism win. That's the whole fucking point of feminism, is to destroy relationships, to destroy romance, to make us all miserable and at war with each other. And tragically, I think it's done that. I think it's succeeded. I hear a lot of people online say, oh, feminism has failed. I don't think it's failed at all. I think it's worked perfectly well. It's done exactly what it set out to do, which is destroy relationships. Most men and women have absolutely no idea how to interact with each other anymore. And don't let feminists and feminism in general blaming you for everything and putting all the responsibility on you make you not want to take responsibility for things that you are legitimately responsible for. That's what feminism wants, is it wants us all to be bitter and angry and at war with each other. I mean, it's no coincidence that as feminism got more popular and became more, dominant in the culture, relationships and marriages and relations between men and women degraded at the same time. I mean, it really is a parallel. And the solution to this is to keep your eyes on what it is that you actually want, the positive, rather than keeping your eyes focused on the negative and the things that you feel like are inhibiting you from the thing that you want. I know there are loads and loads of really awful people out there. I'm well aware of it. But if you keep your focus fixated on that, you're going to end up just railing against them your whole life. You're gonna make them feel like that's the whole world when it isn't. There are good people out there, and you need to keep that at the forefront of your mind, because only when you are seeking the positive will you actually get it. And the same goes with positive people. If you are bitter and angry, that's only going to put off every positive person out there. They don't want to be around that, especially not women with bitter and angry men. That's going to be like an instant red flag for any positive, good woman out there. If she sees you, even for a moment, as one of these bitter, angry men, she's gone. So don't let yourself see women as a whole as a negative, or as a threat, or as them. We are all built to go together. Just two puzzle pieces built to harmonize. So look for the good ones out there, and don't let the bad ones, as many as there are out there, don't let the bad ones keep you from what you actually want, which is a good woman and a healthy relationship. Well, I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hopefully I'll be able to get this script for the feminism video done soon, the dark psychology of feminism. Yeah, like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.